People who are gross and unhappy on the inside will always find something to complain about. In particular, it's when people gross and ugly on the inside will always find something to complain about. In particular, they will complain about people who are better looking and happier than they are. And Gal Gadot is a smasher of many narratives out there. And if you would believe it, women have a problem with Gal Gadot's shoes. That's right. Wonder Woman's shoes are problematic. I'm not kidding you. Wonder why. Why is Wonder Woman wearing heeled boots? She's a fictional character. These choices are deliberate and calculated. She's not a real woman making this choice. And even if she was, it's still an absolutely ridiculous choice to wear heels with armor designed for combat. Really? I mean, doesn't like Aquaman walk around shirtless? Here we go. Y'all, no superheroes wear flat shoes, nor militaries. And these aren't heels, they're platforms, which even doctors claim are better for your spine and posture. They did a lot of real research on real Amazon garments for the armory, too. Oof. Oof. Gal Gadot shuts down feminist Wonder Woman, not just for the girls. Gal Gadot once again shuts down SJW surrounding her superhero character as she makes it clear that Wonder Woman 1984 is not just for the girls, but boys as well. Now, if you remember the director of Charlie's Angels and how Elizabeth Banks, her name is, how she said, well, men don't want to see strong women in films. That's why my Charlie's Angels film was a complete box office disaster. But Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel are exceptions because they're superheroes. I mean, so if you're a woman, if you're playing a superhero role, you're all of a sudden somehow not a woman. By the way, I'm sure Black Widow will make plenty of money at the cinema. The well-reviewed Charlie's Angels reboot is the latest studio box office failure of the fall season, following the footsteps of such disasters as The Goldfinch, Gemini Man. I wonder why Gemini Man failed. I guess I saw it and I wasn't that interested in it, but I don't know. You would think Will Smith. Motherless Brooklyn, Terminator Dark Fate. The Elizabeth Banks directed action comedy failed to crack $9 million at the box office over the opening weekend. Box office tracking had Charlie's Angels opening at an already disappointing $10 million, but the final total came in well below that low mark. IndieWire's box office expert Tom Brugsman said that the film will be a significant loss for Sony. Now, the director says, they'll go see a comic book movie with Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel because that's a male genre, Banks told The Sun. So even though there are movies about women, they put them in the context of feeding a larger comic book world. And so it's all about, yes, you're watching Wonder Woman movie, but we're setting up 3 other characters or we're setting up Justice League. So in that way, Elizabeth Banks, feminist, said that the accomplishments of Gal Gadot, and by the way, the first Wonder Woman film was above average, and it did great at the box office. Wonder Woman 1984 will also do well at the box office. I'm kind of over the retro thing. Like, the trailer would have been, to me, if it wasn't all like, oh, retro 80s, lol, yeah, remember this stuff? Because I saw, what was the show this year? Oh my goodness, why can't I think of it? It's on every year. American Horror Story. They did the flashback thing. Stranger Things. There's so many popular shows that are kind of in that retro era that I'm kind of over it. But the new trailer looks pretty good. I would have done a reaction to it, but I didn't have much to say. It just looks good. I don't know if I'll see it in the cinema, but I'll definitely see the movie. In a second, by the way, she says, I'm happy for those characters to have box office success. Banks said, but we need more women's voices supported with money because that's the power. The power is in the money. So if a woman is in a movie, you must go see it because woman. It's not because Wonder Woman was an excellent film. It was just because woman. This is such a weird, backhanded slight at all the popular female films. Like, look, I didn't think Captain Marvel was really good, but some people might argue that, its box office success proves it was. And, what would Brie Larson say? Is to discredit all of the work that Brie Larson did, not getting into shape and purveying the same stone face for the entire 2-hour film. It's to discount all of that and say, well, the only reason people saw it is because it was a superhero film. Well, I think there are absolutely, positively plenty of superhero films that did awful in the box office that would disprove that point. The Squad movies were awful. The Avengers, DC films have flopped for years. They've only recently kind of figured it out. Her going on, obviously, saying, you've had 37 Spider-Man films and you're not complaining. I think women are allowed to have 1 or 2 action franchises every 17 years. I feel totally fine with that. Yeah, well, Charlie's Angels isn't it. And you weren't the director, and you put together a poor film that nobody wanted to see. You have Gal Gadot out here who isn't, all woke. She's just out there doing her thing. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, the interview mentions to Gal that she's playing this iconic role for the second time and that she is a mom of 2 daughters. Gal Gadot cuts off the interviewer, noting Wonder Woman is not just for girls. Yeah, for sure, she responds. But I gotta tell you, it's not just for the girls. It's for the girls, but we can't reach that place where we are going to stop talking about female, or to stop talking about female men. Women empowerment, feminism, and all that before we work on both females and males. You can't just empower women only by focusing on women. We need to educate the boys and the men. So a young boy does go see this in the cinema, this amazing woman that does amazing things, then he can believe a woman can do that. You know what I mean? So it goes both ways. What an absolute excellent answer. I mean, the idea that, I think this really just encapsulates, like, look, everybody needs to see a good movie with a good female lead in it. And that will do more for women in terms of cinema than forcing them into bad movies or guilting your audience into going to see it. And then when you have Twitter losing their mind over a pair of wedges in the film, that shows you what's really important. Is the fact that Wonder Woman 1984 is highly likely to cross the $1 billion mark, another mega huge blockbuster with a woman lead. Do you care about that, or do you care about likes and retweets on Twitter? 36,000 people like this, and it's a nothing. Heels were created for spicy appeal, but okay. She's not wearing heels. They're clearly not heels. As the other poster put out, they were wedges. And then after getting blown out, she had to retweet herself to say, love when people defend these costume choices by saying, oh, because she chose to, because she wants to, as if Wonder Woman is a real person who has the autonomy to make her own decisions. Well, which is it? This is profoundly hypocritical. Okay, so are you saying that any strong female character in a film who did anything that you all lean on as groundbreaking and doing all this, then that didn't count either? Obviously, Wonder Woman is a fictional character, but then you don't get to say that we need more women in film, do you? You don't get to say that representation matters, do you? Because people obviously know she's not real, but if everything she does doesn't have any real world effect, or if she doesn't have any agency in the film, then how am I supposed to believe that that representation is important? I don't know. You can't have it both ways. Gal Gadot's comments are a stark comparison from what Brie Larson had to say about A Wrinkle in Time not being for white dudes, as well as Disney's approach to Star Wars that empowers female characters at the expense of male characters. By the way, if the rumors are true about how The Rise of Skywalker ends, it's never been more true. The first Wonder Woman movie is actually an example of what Gal Gadot has to say as both Wonder Woman and Chris Pine's Steve Trevor were the heroes of the movie. We can assume the same applies in the sequel. While films such as Captain Marvel and Disney Star Wars outright attempt to make male characters look bad, I've actually been saying this for some time, that Gal Gadot has been saying for years, that both female and male characters should be lifted up at the same time, not at the expense of one or the other. But of course, I always get called names and nasty emails, memes made of me. I don't know who this person who wrote this is, but that's correct. I mean, you shouldn't need to push others down to rise up. In fact, you can have both men and women being equally heroic. I mean, look at the way Black Widow achieves her credit, her respect in the Avengers films. It isn't because she's making jokes at men's expenses all the time. It's because she's out there standing shoulder to shoulder with them in the face of insurmountable odds and standing tall and saying, I am, or I can. You know, it's because she's pushing Hawkeye out of the way to sacrifice herself to unlock one of the Infinity Stones. You know, it's people... Again, I bring that up all the time. It's one of the most memorable scenes of any movie I've seen in the modern day. It's right up there with some of the stuff from Tombstone. Like, these two characters who both have a strong will to live and also have tormented souls, especially Hawkeye at this point in the movie. And really Black Widow, you know, fighting over who sacrifices themselves to save others. You don't need any narrative there. You have both a man and a woman being heroic and both being treated and respected equally. Feminists actually attacked Gal Gadot on one more occasion when the first Wonder Woman movie was released. They didn't like the fact that she and Linda Carter were honorary ambassadors at the UN because they didn't like her chest size. They also attacked Wonder Woman movie for, get this, being sponsored by a protein bar. Wonder Woman 1984 gets released on June 5th, 2020. The release directed by Patty Jenkins, another woman, starring Gal Gadot as a character, Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, Kristen Wiig as the Cheetah, Pedro Pascal as Max Lord, and Robin Wright as Antiope. You know, I don't need to go through all these. Fast forward to the 1980s as Wonder Woman's next big screen adventure finds her all new foes. I'm looking forward to the film. I'm looking forward to the success. I'm looking forward to Gal Gadot continuing to be a voice in Hollywood of reality and the real way to reach people. But keep being mad about her shoes, though. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.